Good morning. It's Saturday, May 16th, and we're going to continue our discussion today on the subject of action. Now, for the Stoics, self-discipline and fortitude were incredibly important, and these characteristics were best exemplified through the actions that we choose to take. And those actions were best shaped by the habits that we adopt. So the prompt from the Daily Stoic was, how am I creating momentum with my good habits? So for me, without question, the tool that's provided the highest ROI with respect to developing and maintaining effective habits has been the use of a habit tracker. Now, when I explain that this little black book is my must-have accessory, I tend to get a lot of skeptical looks. I notice that unconvincing, you're batshit crazy look that says, I can't believe you actually track all this stuff. But this practice works. It works incredibly well, and for good reasons too, which I'll address here shortly. But first, the practice is insanely simple. Each month, I go ahead and in the first column, I list down all the habits that I want to track for that month. Next, I determine the desired frequency. Now, for most habits, I choose those that are daily, as I think that leads to the best use of this tool, but some of them have planned days off, like a rest day at the gym. I think it's better if you avoid doing things that you only do once a month for this particular practice. And another key point is to keep track of all of your progress at least once a day. I do mine at the end of the day when I'm reviewing the day that was and planning for the day that's yet to come. So that's it. Seems too simple to be effective, right? But let's look at why this works. So in his book, Atomic Habits, which I consider to be the most influential book that I've read recently, James Clear uses the framework that suggests that all habits proceed through the 4 stages in the same order. In the problem phase, we have a cue followed by a craving. Then, as all behavior is driven by the desire to solve a problem, in the solution phase, we have a response followed by a reward. So again, this habit loop is cue, craving, response, reward, repeat. And that's a habit. And these 4 stages influence nearly everything that we do. So James Clear then transforms these 4 steps into a practical framework to be used for creating effective habits. And he refers to this framework as the 4 laws of behavior change. Now, when each of these laws is successfully addressed, then change happens, and it happens easily. Similarly, if they aren't considered, then new habits never get off the ground. So habit tracking is so powerful because it harnesses all of the laws of behavior change simultaneously. So going back to the first stage of the habit loop, the cue, the corresponding law is to make the intended habit obvious. You need to be easily aware of it. And tracking habits is an objective assessment of whether or not you did something. It's yes or no. And when you record your last action, it creates a trigger to begin the next one. And I prefer my analog form of tracking as opposed to digital because I see it throughout the day and it's harder for me to ignore than just minimizing an Excel spreadsheet window. Now, the second stage of the habit loop is craving. And that follows that initial cue. And the corresponding law of behavior change is to make it attractive. Now, progress is an extremely effective form of motivation. When you see the fruits of your labor, you're more likely to labor. So habit tracking provides that visualization. In one glance, you can see how far you've come. It's also supportive of establishing the chain method, in which each day, the longer the chain gets, as you add a link, then the more protective you are of not letting that chain break. Gamification is deceivingly effective no matter your age. I mean, when Duolingo sends me a notification that my 138-day Portuguese streak is in danger of being broken, I make sure that I find 10 minutes in my day to go out and keep it alive. Number 3, for the response stage, the corresponding law is to make it easy. Tracking, if designed right, couldn't be easier. The key is to not overly complicate it and to make sure that we're tracking the right things. And finally, for the 4th stage of reward, we have to make sure that it's satisfying. That's another reason that I prefer a notebook. This simple act of assigning myself a check mark for a completed goal is satisfying to me. And doing it with a pen feels much different than using a keystroke or a mouse click. So in summary, habit tracking helps us stay focused on the process rather than the results, which allows us to keep ourselves in the present and not project into the future, which is something that we've been talking about recently. It's also a very effective and simple visualization of your ability to continually take small steps in the direction of the person that you want to become. And that's how we get momentum up and going and then keep it sustained. Hope you have a great day. Bye.